This show is part of the Darkmoor Podcast Network.
To join our community Discord or see more content from our members, visit darkmoorpodcasts.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dragon Mind, the TTRPG podcast where we discover our best selves through gaming. Today, we're finishing our D&D 2024 Practical Possibilities coverage with SRD 5.2, the Creative Commons document that allows creators like you to commercially distribute their products. If you want to contact me directly, you can message me in the Darkmoor Podcast community Discord or email me at dragonmindpodcast@gmail.com. All linked in the description below. January 2023 was a dark time to be a D&D fan. The one D&D playtest had begun, and one question was left unanswered on everyone's minds. Would Wizards of the Coast update the open game license that many credited with 5th edition success to incorporate the rules for what would become D&D 2024? The question was asked directly at a press conference to a discouragingly vague answer. Then the news broke that an anonymous employee leaked that not only was Wizards of the Coast not planning on updating the OGL, but that the company was attempting to deauthorize the OGL for SRD 5.1, potentially wreaking havoc on a healthy and growing third-party industry. After much backpedaling, eventually SRD 5.1 was released with a Creative Commons license, a much more reliable open license than even the OGL, along with the promise that SRD 5.2, the document that included the updated rules, would also be released into Creative Commons. After much skepticism from the community, SRD 5.2 has finally been released into Creative Commons. So, what's changed and what can creators look forward to in the new SRD? First, SRD aficionados will notice that the document is actually shorter, only 361 pages to SRD 5.1's 403. I don't think this is due to cut content, but rather improved organization that makes the information more concise. A great example of this is that SRD 5.2 has a table of contents that SRD 5.1 was sorely missing. Rather than jumping right into species options with the dwarf, SRD 5.2 begins as the player's handbook does, with an introduction of the rhythm of play and the game's general rules. Also, like the player's handbook, many of the game's terms are found in the rules glossary, rather than being buried in a block of rules. Curiously, some of the points emphasized about the SRD is that it has significant overlap, but not the same content as the D&D free rules released on D&D Beyond. For example, the free rules have a short section that explains what players and DMs do, whereas this is omitted in the SRD, instead jumping right into the rhythm of play. That being said, with the release of the SRD, the free rules have been updated with more options. For example, the free rules used to only have the species options for dwarves, elves, humans, and halflings, but now include dragonborn, gnome, Goliath, orc, and tiefling. You heard me right! Goliaths are now included in the SRD, although Aasimars are still missing, with the explanation being that they are too tied to product identity, where I guess Goliaths aren't. As you'd expect, the base classes have all been updated with their new mechanics. Pistols and muskets have been added to the weapons table along with all the weapon masteries. Also, as expected, Origin and Epic Boon feats have been added to the dock. It's really interesting because Grappler is still the only general feat. The breadth of options from the others surprised me. I expected Magic Initiate and Skilled to show up, but Alert and Savage Attacker were really interesting options, especially since I would have guessed that the other one would have been Tough, because it's really simple, and it's been mentioned as kind of like a background feat way before Origin feats were even finalized. I also didn't expect 7 epic boons to make the list. At most, I kind of expected 3 or 4, maybe a martial option, a spellcasting option, a hybrid option, and overall, I don't like this trade because the fighting styles have been reduced. They're billed as new feats, but in reality, the only fighting styles now are archery, defense, great weapon fighting, and two-weapon fighting. Excluding dueling feels really silly because it was in SRD 5.1, but because it's not a feat in SRD 5.2, and because fighting styles are now all feats, you can't even really include dueling even though it was in SRD 5.1 as is. So there are some weird compatibility things that I think a creator could finesse. It just feels really silly to not include dueling in with the others. It's also a shame that we don't get to have the reworked protection fighting style. Again, protection was in 5.1. It wasn't a very good option, but someone could finesse it, I guess. I don't know. I will say there are some delicious spells that are added. The standouts for me personally are Chromatic Orb, Dissonant Whispers, Hex, Ice Knife, Phantasmal Force, and Summon Dragon. There are new magic items added as well, like Sending Stones and Gloves of Thievery, and monsters like the Goblin Boss and Pirate. I see these more as bonuses rather than game-changing from a creator standpoint. Overall, SRD 5.2 is definitely an improvement over 5.1. And both are in Creative Commons, and it is very clear, even from the FAQ page, that both of these documents can be used with each other. I mean, you have to kind of finesse them a little bit sometimes, but it is nice to see how many options a creator has, especially if they're not going to be bound to the same system as D&D. For community members that like D&D but hate Wizards of the Coast, SRD 5.2 is a great extension of Goodwill, where you don't have to pay for a lot to get most of the content that's in the player's handbook, minus some subclasses. But it allows third-party creators a whole lot of support. For example, something I'm working on now, Swiftguard, is kind of a remixed system built off of the scaffolding of 5e with some significant changes, like a new action economy and character progression. So for this episode, I'm going to end things as they are now and get back to creating, because I can't wait to release Swiftguard to you as the playtest and see what you come up with too. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Dragonmind is a proud member of the Darkmoor Podcast Network. To discover more TTRPG content like this, visit darkmoorpodcasts.com. If you had any insights or questions, be sure to email us at dragonmindpodcast@gmail.com or post in our discussion channel in the Darkmoor Podcast community Discord, linked in the description below. Our theme song, J-Pop, is brought to you by Thesleyan Studios. You can check out more of their awesome work at thesleyanstudios.com. Have an awesome day, and remember, your story matters. Bye-bye now.
Well, Grimton, Morlinde and Ulrich are gone. We're in a new, unfamiliar land of Kolgafir. What's our first move?
Polaris, I'm not too certain, but I did hear Fishbelly talking about something.
Oh, yeah. With the Warlord's half-sister in a meeting.
Yeah, that's about the only lead we have so far. We haven't been here long. Might be worth checking out.
Seems like a plan to me.
Join us as our party explores an unforgiving region of the Cusp and allies with new party members in Arc 3 of Advantage, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons audio drama focused on storytelling and character development, and the Darkmoor Podcast Network. Find us in your podcast app.